Okay, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Man ba'a dirhamaini wa dinaran bi dinaraini wa dirhamin jazal bay. So this is the next masla now, which is a person. He sells, so let's say shakils on one side and grams on the other side. So what happens? If you're selling anything which is exchange of currency, then we said that if the currencies are the same, then what happens? Equal amounts. Equal. Gold for gold, silver for silver, it has to be equal amounts. And it has to be there and then. Spot sale. And if, however, the currencies differ, if they change, then you can sell as much as you like on either side. You want to buy pounds for dollars, but it has to be spot sale, there and then. It can't be deferred. So deferring is actually riba in this case. So even if it's a minute, an hour, a day, technically you're not allowed. Right? So the question here now comes is that let's say Shakil has, so look at this, Shakil has 2 silver coins and 1 gold coin, and Ikram has 2 gold coins and 1 silver coin. What's the problem here? They're not equal, are they? So on one side you got 1 gold in exchange for 2 gold, and on the other side you got 2 silver in exchange for 1 silver. So should this be allowed? No, it shouldn't be allowed, should it? Because there's one contract, one receipt. In one receipt, you've got 2 of the same item, which is more on one side. So you have a surplus, and that's riba, that is basically. But the Hanafis are permitted because the Hanafis say that this sort of a transaction, it can be corrected. It can be corrected. And why do you correct such a transaction? Because we try to make a Muslim's transaction as correct as possible. Does that make sense? So in other words, the default state is all transactions are jaiz, according to Hanafis. All interactions that take place in exchange should be jaiz, except for those which the Sharia has. Whereas other madhabs, what they'll do is they do other around. Others will say, no, only those that the Sharia says are permitted are permitted. So you see, the Hanafis got
allowing this.
So this is why. So how would we make this transaction jaiz in a normal situation? So we'll say that the silver are in exchange for the 1 gold, and the 2 golds are in exchange for the 1 silver.
But it's not the same.
No, so it's different, isn't it? So it's different genuses.
Oh, I see what you mean. They can give it any amount.
So even if Shakil doesn't say explicitly in the contract that this 1 gold in exchange for 2 silvers and this 1 silver, if he doesn't say that, we automatically assume, because that's the only way, that's the only option we have in order to allow the transaction to go through. So does that make sense? So this is like an important rule, and this is why lots of transactions now will become jaiz, because as long as we can find a route to be able to make that permissible, in some way in fiqh, then this is counted as permissible. So man ba'a dirhamaini bi dinar wa dinaran bi dinaraini, whoever sells 2 silver coins for 1 gold coin and 1 gold coin, for 2 silver coins and 2 gold coins and 1 silver coin, jaz al bay, the transaction is permissible. And what will happen? وَجَعَلَ كُلُّ وَاحِدٍ وَجُعِلَ كُلُّ وَاحِدٍ مِنَ الْجِنْسَيْنِ, that each of the 2 genres or genuses will be made in exchange for the opposite genre or jins. Does that make sense? So that's how we ratify or rectify the Muslim's contract. And like I said, this is why the Hanafis are more flexible in transactions, because they've got this kind of leeway. Okay, that's the first masla. Second masla. Now, you guys tell me this now. A person, let's say Shakil has 10 silver coins. 10 silver coins on one side. And he sells those 10 silver coins for 10 silver coins. No, sorry. Shakil has 11 silver coins, and he sells it in exchange with Ikram for 10 silver coins and 1 gold coin. So what's the situation here? So this side 11 silver coins, this side 10 silver coins plus 1 gold coin.
So 10 for 10 and the 1.
Yeah, so 10 is going to be for 10. Yeah, that cancel each other out. And then the surplus, the excess, is going to be 1 gold for 1 silver. So you won't assume here, oh look, on this side you got 10 silver and 11 silver. Yeah, which technically would be riba, surplus. But because we've got that other gold is kind of in exchange for that 1 silver. Even though he hasn't explicitly stated in the contract, but it's implicitly understood. Make sense? So man ba'a ahada ashara dirhaman, whoever sells, like Shakil sells 11 silver coins in exchange for ashara darahim wa dinar, jaz al bay. So same thing. Wa kanat al asharatu bimithliha, the 10 silver coins will be considered in exchange for the other 10. Wa dinar bidirham, and the dinar is going to be considered for the gold coin. It will be considered in exchange for what? The silver coin. Everyone got that? Okay. Next masala. Now look at this. Now, you know, in the olden days, when they used to have this gold and silver, there were several problems they had, which obviously modern day society has overcome now. And that problem was the gold and silver was not standardized. So when they used to exchange, if you've ever been to a museum and seen the gold and silver that they used to exchange, very small, very light. But the problem is that one man's dirham might be equal to another person's 1.5 dirham. Yeah, one man's gold dinar might be in exchange for. Does that make sense? So dinar and dirham, these were foreign currencies. These were from Persia and Byzantine. That's where it came from. The Byzantines had the gold, and the silver was from the Persians. Yeah, or the other way around, whichever one. So, but this is how it used to work. So what happened was that when the Muslims got them, they were just using it because it was easier for them to exchange, and they didn't have to mint it themselves. So later on, when Umar radiallahu anhu came, he actually looked at these and he standardized them, and he started saying, right, now we're going to use the government currency will be the 7 gram one, the 7 mithqal one. That's going to be the government one. So it's like average ones, and the average out of all of them was the 7 one. So they were going to use that measurement. That's the first problem you had. The second problem you had was that remember, gold cannot be exchanged in pure form because it's too weak. It'll bend, it'll break. So you need to add an alloy to it. Yeah, other metals are added to it. So now it becomes stronger. It can hold itself. Same with the silver. So pure silver, pure gold is not a very good metal to exchange on its own. Right. So what do they do? So they add alloys. So how much alloy is there going to be in there? There'll be people who are shaving bits off it, yeah, for themselves. So, and this was a problem governments had. In fact, this was like there's a book called Mysteries of Banking, and he mentioned that in the Saracens, the Muslims that live in Spain, when they used to have their currency, the economy was very stable. But as soon as the Northerners, Spanish, they came and took over, what happened was that each ruler would shave a bit of the coins for himself, pocket it. So the value of the coin devalued. So it had a ripple effect. So the people who took advantage of the first coins, made loads of money, and then later on, it became so low that it lost value. So he was giving figures of how much the currency had dropped because of this cheating the government was doing. And this is a problem. You got inflation as well. So you got fiat currency, and the currency is being, it's like it's not really indexed with anything, with a metal. So it's just figures. So therefore, they have to sometimes raise the inflation, they have to lower the inflation, and by this happening, what happens is that the currency's price changes a lot. Gold and silver, you can't do that because they're considered to have like an intrinsic value in the society. So this is why even in them days they had this problem, right? So this was known as various values of dirhams and dinars. So you had the high quality, yeah, the jiyad, the jayyid form. Then you had the low quality, the ghallas, So the ghalla would have been one which was, mixed with, other alloys, and it lowered its value. So how would that work then? So they would say the ghalla coins were accepted by the normal businessman. The normal businessman in the markets would accept them, but in the Baytul Mal, they wouldn't accept them. Yeah, so Baytul Mal, if you went to Baytul Mal, you have to give your zakat or anything else, they check them, they wouldn't accept it because it's of low quality. Okay, so anyway, so the question now comes is, let's say we're exchanging on both sides, and on both sides what happens is Shakil's got coins, silver coins, and Ikram's got silver coins, but he's got good quality silver coins and Ikram's got the ghalla ones. So would they have to be equal as well or not? What did we say before?
No, quality doesn't matter.
Yeah, quality doesn't matter. Yeah, you're probably thinking, but it does technically, because the value is going to be different, isn't it? But when it comes to riba, it doesn't matter. How would you overcome that? You sell in a different currency. That's how you overcome it. So يجوز بيع درهمين صحيحين. It's permissible to sell two good quality silver coins in exchange for one low quality silver coin and one good quality silver coin. Yeah, or you can even sell it for two dirhamain ghalla. Yeah, so in other words, whether you have two good coins, two ghallas, or two good coins, one good coin, one ghalla, is fine. Does that make sense? Yeah, Shahid, you understand? Yeah, Siraj? Okay. So these kind of things, you need to know how gold and silver works. Right, nowadays gold and silver is, I don't know how silver is classed, but gold is like in carats. Yeah, and silver, is there must be some sort of, ask the jewelers, they'll probably tell you, they know these kind of things. Okay, now, to what degree is a silver coin considered to be silver? And to what degree is a gold coin considered to be gold? When is it no longer considered to be gold coin anymore? How much alloy has to be mixed with it that it no longer remains in the ruling of gold and silver?
More than 50%.
Yeah, 50% mark. So in gold, 12 carats basically. So 24 carats is pure gold, and then 12 carats of gold, anything less than 12 carats gold is no longer in the ruling of gold. That's why there's no zakat on it. Remember we did it in chapter zakat? Yeah, so if it's less than 12 carats. Now some of the like modern scholars have said that, like NZF and others, they've said that even with gold that's less than 12 carats, because it can be measured, it can be valued. In the olden days, they didn't have instruments to be able to value gold which was lower than 12%, 12 carats. But now they have instruments that they can actually value. So that's why some scholars are in the opinion now that it's different now, that you actually have to give zakat on gold which is less than that. But others have taken the old opinion and stuck to that. وَإِنْ كَانَ الْغَالِبُ, if the predominant metal على الدراهم, on the silver coin, is fidda, is gold, is silver, فَهِيَ فِي, then it is in the ruling of silver. You understand? وَإِنْ كَانَ الْغَالِبُ, and if the predominant metal على الدنانير, on the gold coins, is ذهب, فَهُوَ فِي حُكْمِ الذهب, then the coin will be counted as ذهب. So long as 51%, 51% is silver, therefore it's silver coin. 51% is gold, gold coin. Everyone got that? So therefore, if it's in the ruling of gold and silver, the same rulings and implications of riba apply to it. I.e., يُعْتَبَرْ فِيهِمَا, it will be considered regarding these two metals, min tahrim al-tafadul, of unlawfulness of surplus, ma yu'tabar, which is considered in the high quality. So the same rulings that apply to the high quality silver and the high quality gold will apply to the low quality silver and low quality gold.
So in this example here, the sale of 2 sound dirhams and 1 unsound dirham for 1 sound, you ignore the quality and it's 3 for 3 basically, which falls under the first ruling, so that's okay.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. The masla I made a mistake then. So it's yajuzu bay'u dirhamis wad. So therefore, on one side, there's 2 sound, good quality dirhams and 1 ghalla, and on the other side, there's 1 sound dirham and 2 ghallas. Yeah, my mistake. Yeah, but it's the same thing.
Same thing.
Principle
Three-
is
It's 3 dirhams for 3
yeah,
dirhams.
3 dirhams. But it was same thing other way around as well. Yeah, what are you saying?
So, so is this saying, so if you said 11 for 10 and 1, what you saying?
Yeah.
So is that standard for currency or is it just for...
The currency is also, for example, currency, if you were exchanging currency, right, you were exchanging, let's say, £11. I mean, it wouldn't make sense. Why would you want to exchange? And this is why the fuqaha have said a non-beneficial transaction is void. Like if I exchange £1 for £1, that's void days. Because it's not beneficial. Why am I exchanging £1 for £1? Unless it's like getting change.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're getting change, that's different. But let's say, for example, like I've got, I don't know, £11, £15, or let's say, yeah, £20 on one side, and on the other side I've got £19 and $1. Yeah, is that allowed? Yeah, that's allowed.
Yeah.
But I don't know why you want to do that.
Mm.
It wouldn't make sense why do you want to do that for? Yeah, unless it was like a check. Maybe you're extending a check. Yeah, something like that.
So I was just wondering, because if it's on currency, if you had, for instance, £1 and £1, and you want to exchange,
Yeah.
as long as there's something to exchange with that, because for instance, if that person had £1.50,
Yeah.
change it 50p for £1.20p,
No,
would that be classed as...
because the same currency, isn't it?
Ah, so it has to be different.
Yeah, it has to be different currency. You got to use like euros in exchange for pounds. That's fine.
Then it's okay.
Cents, you get cent, American cent in exchange for. That would be fine. Yes, there has to be some sort of difference for surplus. Okay, everyone got that? Right. What if the alloy is more, what if there's 51% or more alloy metal inside the coin than gold or silver? Then, in kan al-ghalib alayhim al-ghash, if the predominant metal inside the coins is ghash meaning alloy, yeah, the mix, ghash literally means mixed. فَلَيْسَ فِي حُكْمِ, then the two coins will not be in the ruling of standard darahim and the nanirs. What will they be in the ruling of then?
Rules.
Yeah, they'll be in the ruling of just a normal commodity of sale. Just like if you wanted to sell just pieces of metal, round pieces of metal. Yeah, they're not coins. So, فَهُمَا فِي حُكْمِ الْأُرُودِ, and in that case they're going to be in the ruling of urud. Yeah, and the ruling of currency will not apply to them. Everyone understand? And it's the same with like notes as well. If a note becomes out of usage, yeah, the country all of a sudden discontinues the notes, stops them, and they take on another currency. All those pieces of notes are now pieces of paper now. You can sell as much as you like for as much as you like, because it's no longer currency. Yeah, so let's say, God forbid, pound all of a sudden lost all its value. Yeah, then what's going to happen? You can sell as many pounds for as many pounds as you like, because it's no longer currency anymore. This is where the question comes with some people have the AK-47 £5 note, and they want to sell that for lots of money. Can they sell it or not?
Depends if it's a different currency.
If you sold it for dollars, sell it for as much as you like, as long as they're happy. Yeah, but can you sell one £5 note for £80? Like on eBay, people sell them. Yeah, it's riba. You can't do it. But there are some. I spoke to some scholars, and they said that if you consider if you take away the currency value and you just consider its commercial value, yeah, on its own, not the currency value, just the commercial value, that it's like a unique item. So then there's scope for that. But this is a very problematic position. The scholar I spoke to hasn't like endorsed that position. He's just saying to me, this is like one way of looking at it.
Well, wouldn't that fall under goods?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. So then it would become goods, because you're not buying it for its value, you're buying it for its like an external feature that the note has.
You know, all of these rulings, do they apply to cryptocurrency as well, that doesn't have any physical presence?
So the problem again with cryptocurrency is cryptocurrency considered to be a currency
Yeah.
or not? Like for example, Boots cards, that's not a currency, because it doesn't follow the normal laws of currency. As in, it's not been adopted by a government, it's not widespread, it's only allowed within the shop, and then it's more in the ruling of a gift. Like the shop has gifted you anything in the shop you can take. So it's a gift rather than a currency. Currency, you should be able to do anything you want with it. Yeah, you should be able to trade it for anything. Whereas boots points, maybe nectar points and these kind of points, there's no zakat on there. Doesn't matter how much you have on your cards, no zakat, because it doesn't come under currency. Same with the cryptocurrency. It hasn't adopted, there's lots of types of cryptocurrency. They haven't adopted the standard currency sort of status because it's not being accepted by a lot of governments and businesses. So Bitcoin, I think, is the most widespread one. I don't know if something else has taken over. Is it still going up or has it stopped? Yeah.
It's a bit confusing that, to be honest with you, when I've looked at it, my sons are planning for me, it's more like buying shares rather than value. Although they call it Bitcoin, reality is you're investing into a company and that company is giving you a value. I think it's all it is, it's been changed from a share to a Bitcoin.
If you look at it, that is exactly what a fiat currency is. Fiat currency, at the end of the day, who decides that a piece of paper is now worth a car? Who decides? The government, innit? So the government overnight can actually say, right, this note now doesn't value anything. So then you've lost all the value. So this is known as a thaman or a naqad al-mustalah. Mustalah means it's been agreed upon by groups of people. So we can make our own currency. Technically, we can make our own currency. And in the olden days, they used to have certain coins which in certain areas was considered to be like a sub-currency of the dirham and the dinar. So if you didn't want to, legally you weren't allowed to break a dirham or dinar against the law. But you needed to have like a sub-currency, a currency that was like smaller than like we have pennies. Yeah. The penny to the pound, they'd have a smaller currency. So that would still be counted as a currency. So the notes is the same thing. It's just that that's digital and this is notes. Exactly the same thing with your bank card. In your bank card, I don't ask how much you got, but it's the same thing, it's the same principle. Most of us, like me, I probably transfer money digitally more than I do physically. Most of us do that. Where's the money? We don't even see it. It's just numbers passing from one place to another.
This is why I was confused with regard to this cryptocurrency. Basically, I was talking to somebody and what they're saying is you're investing in a company that has no assets. You're investing in more like technology. So this company that exists all started like me and say, I will make a company and think we're going to go look for new energy. So people, they give it a value to start off with, say, 10 cryptocurrency. So it's like shares, the way I look at it. Say £10 a share, you buy 50 shares. And then all of a sudden we strike gold, we've got this new energy, and that company's worth now, the shares have gone up 100-fold more. I don't know whether that jives, but I think it's too much.
No, you see, again, it's the same thing with currency. You need to know how currency works for you to know how Bitcoin works. You know how currency works. What you're saying, you just described exactly the pound is. The government, the British government is a company. They've decided that divided pieces of paper into certain values. If you're American, you buy these shares as much as you can, and now you've got a share in that company. Now, if that company goes up, then the pound, your pound goes up. If it goes down, you drop. If you go to a shop, you can say to them, "Do you take this company shares?" Yeah, it's the same thing.
I mean, is it jive to risk in a company that's just...
Yeah, what you're saying is like the issue of the volatile markets that go up and down. That's another issue on its own. But can Bitcoin become a currency? There's nothing to stop it. Just because the company decides that they want to, sell their shares and they want to make it into a currency that's widespread accepted around the world. Yeah, that is exactly the definition of a currency. It's just called digital currency, cryptocurrency.
It's the way I look at it, right? It's really just it's an old thing given a new name.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it is. That's the problem with currency. Currencies, they change, the value changes, it goes up and down. The more people buy things in Britain, then inflation has to rise. The less people buy, inflation has to go down. This is basically the price of pound going up and down. That's how it works. So there's a whole history behind what you're talking about. There's a whole history behind how the note came into existence. And if you remember last week when I was telling you about people having companies in Birmingham and Manchester and then providing safety for transfer of money. That's what banks were. Bank literally means deposit. You bank it, you deposit it. So you would deposit with them what you had. They'll give you a piece of paper. That's how it worked. But the papers were backed by, metals, gold and silver. Nowadays they're backed by nothing. That's why it's so dangerous. Okay. Anyway, so فَإِذَا بِيَتْ بِجِنْسِهَا, if these coins, metals, meaning these non-standard gold and silver piece of metal, if they're sold in exchange for other coins, mutafadilan, surplus. So Shakil has 20 pieces of metal coins, which we call the ghash, and Ikram, who's got 10. Is that allowed? Jaz al-bay. Why? Because it's like selling just items, 10 books, 3 books. Fine. Okay. Next masala now. So this is a bit of a thing that you got to think about now. Let's say, for instance, this happens. This can happen with pounds. Shaheed, he goes and buys a car from Ahsan. Yeah, for how much? £2,000. He buys a car from him. He buys the car on Monday. Or let's say he buys the car in January. And he defers the payment until March. Is that allowed?
Yeah.
Deferred payments allowed, yeah? Okay. Are you happy with that? Yeah, okay. So you sign the documents, everything. It's all done. Has the transaction taken place?
Yeah.
Has ijab and qabul taken place? Yeah, so that means when in the year did the transaction take place legally? January, yeah? And when legally is he supposed to pay the fee, the money? March, yeah, okay. Now, what happens here is this. In February the 15th, right in the middle of February the 15th, the note, a war takes place, and the note totally loses value. No longer has a value anymore. So, Shaheed's supposed to give Ahsan what? £2,000 in it. But now the note has no value anymore. Yeah? So what happens in this situation? Does that make sense? Does the transaction continue? If it continues, how does it continue? Because the initial agreement cannot be fulfilled anymore.
Has he taken the car?
No, you've taken the car, you're buying it.
So,
You've taken it, you just got deferred payment. Does that make sense? So here there's ikhtilaf between Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Abu Yusuf and Imam Muhammad. Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he says this. He says that the transaction becomes void. Simply because the two cornerstones of any transaction are what? Okay, ijab and qabul, but also exchange of goods in it. One side has been exchanged, the other side hasn't. That means the transaction has not been executed. It's not been concluded fully. Make sense? So he goes, you can't continue.
You have to give the car back.
Yeah. Just like, for example, imagine Ikram and Shakil were exchanging books. So Shakil gives his Qudoori and Ikram gives his Minhaj. Yeah. So Ikram said, I'm going to give you the Minhaj on Wednesday. And on Tuesday, the book got destroyed. Transaction nullified. Make sense? Okay. So what happens here then? Imam Abu Hanifa, he says, transaction becomes nullified. Imam Abu Yusuf, rahimahullah, he says that the value, you go back, the judge will trace back the value of that car when it was bought in January, so January the 1st. What was the value of that car? And then that value in the new currency, he'll have to give that. On that day, the value of that car in the new currency, he'll have to give that. So let's say he worked out on the 1st of February, in euros, it cost 2,300 euros. The car is. But okay, you got to give 2,300 euros. Makes sense? Because the deal was done in January. And Imam Muhammad rahimahullah, he says that you work out, the judge will work out, when did the currency become devalued? February 15th, isn't it? So on February 15th, what was the value of that car in that currency? So let's say the value was going down, and then on 15th, it's all stopped. So what was the value of that car on that particular day? that's what you have to give. Does that make sense? If it's gone, whether it's gone up, whether it's gone down, that's what you got to give. Make sense? So,
Loses out then.
yeah, that's what Imam Muhammad Rahman says.
So the buyer's got to pay more basically
If
to top it up if he needs to make the value.
No, it's the seller that loses.
Yeah, so the buyer's got to pay whatever on the 15th of February that car was valued at.
Reduces, it pays less.
Whatever was it valued at? So let's say, for example, on the 15th, it was valued at, because it could go up, could go down. Let's say it was valued at £1,800. Yeah, so whatever £1,800 is in the new currency, that's how much he gives. Yeah, okay, so look at this. وَإِنِ اشْتَرَى بِهَا سِلْعَةً. And if a person with these coins, with these alloy coins, i.e. non-standard gold silver coins, a person, Shaheed, was to purchase a car from Ahsan, ثُمَّ كَسَدَتْ, then these coins became devalued. They become non-usable anymore. Go out of circulation, yeah, it's a bad word. فَتَرَكَ النَّاسُ الْمُعَامَلَةَ. So people stopped using them بها قبل القبض, before qabd, yeah, before taking possession. Okay, so I mentioned the deferred payment. So this is before he took possession of it. وقال بطل البيع عند أبي حنيفة رحمه الله تعالى. According to Imam Abu Hanifa رحمه الله تعالى, the transaction is considered to be batil. Yeah, it's become nullified. وقال أبو يوسف رحمه الله عليه قيمتها. He has to pay its قيمة before, sorry, يوم البيع. When was يوم البيع? 1st of January. وقال محمد, Imam Muhammad says عليه قيمتها. He has to give its value آخر ما يتعامل الناس, the last day upon which the people dealt with it. Yeah, so the sil'a, the last day that the people dealt with that money. Yeah, what was the value of it? That's how much he's got to give.
Sorry, Sajjad, I don't understand this.
Yeah.
So in February the currency collapses, it's abandoned and a new currency comes in.
Yeah.
That has a different value now.
Yeah.
Right. So now do you simply take the £2,000 and say, well, Imam Abu Hanifa says it's just void. There is no transaction anymore.
No transaction.
Give the car back. Imam Abu Yusuf says you reassess the value of the car as at January. So what is £2,000 now in the new currency? So if they've adopted euros now, so then you look at what is £2,000 worth in euros.
Yeah.
But do you do that as in January?
Yeah.
So whatever the rate was in January, the exchange
That's it.
rate. And Imam Muhammad says that you do it in February when the currency was
That's it.
right. Okay. So you're basically paying in a new currency for
But you got to figure out from
what the
day.
value.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, everyone understand that? Next. Okay, next. ويجوز البيع بالفلوس النافقة وإن لم يعين. So, in other words, remember, gold and silver, they have intrinsic value. Their value's not going to drop. Or not going to become redundant. These are two metals that will always have value. So what if you're using coins, which are subcoins, or you're using subcurrency, or you're using notes, fiat currency? And what happens is that when you buy something, let's say for example, Arib, he purchases the laptop from Ahsan. Yeah, he buys it, and when he's bought it, and he's mentioned how much he's going to pay, he hasn't specified the coins. Yeah, he hasn't done ta'yin of the coins. So this is a rule which is I think I mentioned this before. When it comes to gold, silver and currencies, then these three things are things which are not specified. They only become specified when the seller takes them in his hand. Whereas commodities of sale, objects of sale, they become specified by describing them or pointing at them in the transaction. So if you're selling like a laptop, and you point, this is the laptop I'm going to sell you. You have to sell that laptop. If this laptop gets destroyed, transaction nullified. But if the cash, the gold, silver was to get destroyed, it doesn't matter because you can provide gold and silver from something else because it's a, zawatul amthal. It's a fungible asset. Yeah, so you can give something else from it.
I think you mentioned that before. You said with chocolate, when you're going to the shop, this is the chocolate one. He has to give you that one.
Yeah, so the object, the commodity, you have to give that. Yeah, because it's something that's non-fungible. Yeah, and it has to be specified in the contract. Okay. وَيَجُوزُ الْبَيْء بِالْفُلُوسِ النَّافِقَةِ. You are allowed to do a transaction with fulus. Fulus is, the word fulus is literally used for those sub-currency coins, non-gold, silver. And nafiqati, which are in circulation. وَإِن لَمْ يُعَيَّنْ. Even if the person has not specified that, pointed at. Like if I go to the shop and say, I'm going to give you this £10 note. Right? Even if you don't do that, because the cornerstones of the transaction are there, which are ijab, qabul, commodity, and price. Yeah, the transaction is jaiz. وَإِن كَانَتْ كَاسِدَةً. However, if these notes are not in circulation anymore. So let's say you went to the shop, just like in these war-torn countries where the currency doesn't have any more value anymore. And they'll have barrels of just notes they exchange for a loaf of bread. So what happens here? In there, because it's not in the ruling of currency anymore, you have to point at it, I'm going to give you these. I'm going to give you this sack of notes. Why is that? Because it's no longer in the ruling of currency, and now it's coming in the ruling of, commodity. So, وَإِن كَانَتْ كَاسِدَةً. And if it is not in circulation anymore, لَمْ يَجُوزْ الْبَيْءُ بِهَا. You cannot transact with it حَتَّى يُعَيِّنْهَا. Until the buyer, he points, I'm going to give you this, sack of beans, or whatever it is. Make sense? Stop there. Yeah, we'll stop there.
So with this last one, if I say, right, I want to buy your car for 2,000, and I don't say whether it's gold, silver, or falus, I just say it's 2,000.
So this goes back to what we talked about before.
Yeah, so it says it's okay, but when I hand the money over, at that stage, if I'm giving him silver, he can say, no, it was gold.
No, that's in the last days.
Right.
That is, remember, one of the main things in a sale is you have to identify the qadr and the jins of the coins that you're giving over.
So
this is basically saying that if you go to the shops and you say, I'm going to buy a chocolate bar for 50 pence.
Yeah.
Right, okay, I'll give 50 pence. I'll give 50 pence. Do you have to give it 50 pence? Is there a specific 50 pence you have to give?
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, or is it like 10 coins can you give, or can you give pennies?
Okay.
Yeah, just like, when I think someone, when they sued, was it Apple or Samsung, they sued each other, and they turned up with a big truckload of coins. So that legally that was fine. Yeah, because basically it's not muta'ayyin, it's not specified. Does that make sense? So you just turned up and then just big truckload, they just emptied it onto them. So this is why that if the commodity gets destroyed, if it becomes perished, then the transaction becomes void, partially void, or whatever. And if the coins get destroyed, it doesn't become void because they can be replaced with other coins. And this is why, for this reason, riba transactions, the gold, silver, and cash has to be handed over there and then. So it has to be on spot sale. You can't do like the deferred.
Because you're assuming here the falus has a known value.
Exactly.
Understood what the value is. Whereas one that's not in demand, it's not in use, it's got no proper
That's
value.
it. Yep, got it.